The Aetherion drifted silently, a skeletal husk of humanity's ambition. Its corridors bathed in the sickly glow of flickering emergency lights. Dr. Elara Voss floated through the central hub, her breath shallow inside her suit's helmet, the hiss of recycled air her only companion. The station's crew of 47 was gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only smears of blood that hung in perfect, glistening spheres suspended in zero gravity. Elara's gloved hand brushed one, and it quivered, splitting into smaller orbs that drifted like accusing eyes. Her heart pounded. She was the last one left. 3 hours ago, the distress signal had gone silent. Elara, a xenobiologist dispatched to investigate the Aetherin's sudden communication blackout, had expected mechanical failure or a power surge. Not this. Not the eerie stillness, the abandoned workstations, the tools floating aimlessly. And not the blood, too much blood, defying gravity, painting the air with crimson constellations. Her suit's comms crackled, but no voices came through. Only static and something else, a low rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat echoing from the station's core. She pushed off a wall, gliding toward the biolab, her flashlight beam slicing through the dark. The first hook had sunk in when she'd found the captain's log, a garbled video of Captain Reyes screaming about the lattice before the feed cut to black. Now, every shadow seemed to writhe. Every hum of the station felt alive. Elara's training told her to stay rational, but her gut screamed to flee. Except there was nowhere to go. Her shuttle was docked, but its navigation system had inexplicably failed upon arrival. She was trapped. The biolab door loomed ahead, its keypad smeared with a handprint of dried blood. Elara's fingers trembled as she punched in the override code. The door hissed open, revealing a cavernous chamber where experiments on alien microbes had been conducted. The air was thick with floating debris papers, vials, and more blood, swirling in eerie patterns. At the center of the room, a massive cylindrical tank glowed faintly, its contents obscured by a haze of condensation. Elara's flashlight caught something inside, a lattice-like structure, pulsating, veins of light threading through it like a living web. Her stomach churned. The Aetherion had been studying a microbe from a comet fragment, something they'd called Xenoform 7. Harmless, they'd said. A simple organism with potential for bioengineering. But the lattice didn't look simple. It moved, contracting and expanding as if breathing. Elara's comms crackled again, and this time, a whisper slithered through a voice. Or voices, layered and unintelligible, speaking in tongues that clawed at her mind. She clutched her helmet, willing the sound to stop, but it grew louder, sharper, until it felt like needles in her skull. She floated closer to the tank, unable to resist. The lattice wasn't just inside, it was spreading, thin tendrils creeping along the tank's inner surface, etching patterns that seemed deliberate, almost intelligent. Elara's flashlight flickered, and in that split second of darkness, she swore she saw faces in the lattice. Human faces contorted in agony, their mouths open in silent screams. Her breath caught. The crew. Were they inside it? A sudden jolt rocked the station. Elara slammed into the tank, her helmet cracking against the glass. Pain lanced through her temple, and a thin stream of her own blood floated free, mixing with the spheres already in the air. The lattice pulsed brighter, as if excited by the fresh offering. The whispers in her comms became a chorus, chanting her name. Elara! Elara! She screamed, kicking away from the tank, her body spinning wildly in zero gravity. She needed answers. She needed to survive. Grabbing a handhold, she steadied herself and accessed the biolab's terminal. The screen flickered to life, displaying fragmented logs from Dr. Chen, the lead researcher. Xenoform 7 isn't a microbe. The final entry read, "It's a network. It thinks. It hungers. It's rewriting us." The words chilled her. Rewriting? She scrolled further, finding a video file. Chen's face appeared, pale and gaunt, her eyes bloodshot. "It's in the blood," she rasped. "It uses us to grow. Don't let it touch you." The video ended with Chun clawing at her own skin, black veins spreading across her face like cracks in porcelain. Elara's gaze darted to the blood spheres floating around her. One brushed her suit, leaving a streak. Panic surged. She checked her suit's integrity, intact for now. But the lattice was growing, tendrils now visible outside the tank, creeping along the walls, forming intricate patterns that pulsed with that same unnatural light. The station groaned again, metal creaking as if under strain. Something was changing. She propelled herself toward the airlock, desperate to reach her shuttle. The corridors were a maze of floating debris and blood, the emergency lights now strobing erratically. Shadows danced, and Elara swore she saw shapes, humanoid, but wrong, their limbs too long, their movements jerky, like puppets on invisible strings. She didn't stop to look. Her flashlight caught a glimpse of the mess hall. Tables overturned, walls smeared with handprints, and a single word scratched into the metal. "Join." Her gums erupted with the voices again, louder, angrier, chanting in unison. "Join us, Elara. Become." She muted the coms, but the voices didn't stop. They were in her head now, burrowing deep. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, she saw herself from the outside, her body floating, her eyes black and hollow, her skin threaded with glowing veins. She blinked, and the vision was gone, but the fear remained. The airlock was in sight when the station lurched violently. Elara crashed into a wall, her flashlight spinning away, its beam spiraling through the dark. In its fleeting light, she saw them. Figures, or what used to be figures, floating toward her. Their faces were gone, replaced by lattice-like growths, their bodies twitching as if controlled by something else. One reached for her, its fingers elongated and webbed with glowing threads. Elara screamed, kicking off the wall, propelling herself into the airlock. She sealed the door, her hands shaking as she initiated the depressurization sequence. The shuttle was her only hope, even if its navigation was fried. As the airlock cycled, she glanced through the porthole. The figures were pressed against the door, their lattice faces pulsating, their mouths moving in unison, forming words she couldn't hear but felt in her bones. "You can't leave." The airlock opened, and Elara launched herself into the shuttle, slamming the hatch behind her. She strapped into the pilot's seat, her hands flying over the controls. The nav system was still down, but she could manually undock and drift anywhere was better than here. As the shuttle detached, the Aetherion loomed in the viewport, its hull now crawling with lattice-like growths, spreading like a disease. The station's lights flickered one last time, then went dark. Elara's shuttle drifted into the void, the silence deafening. Her suit sensors beeped, a breach. A tiny puncture in her glove, where the blood had touched her. She stared at her hand, where a single black vein was beginning to spread under her skin, glowing faintly. The voices returned, soft now, almost comforting. "Join us," they whispered. "Become." She looked down into the endless black, the stars indifferent. The shuttle's comms crackled to life, unprompted, broadcasting a signal, a rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat, reaching out into the cosmos. Elara's hand hovered over the controls, unsure whether to respond or silence it forever. The void waited,